Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another interview for our Wellness Quality Management Community of Practice. Welcome back, Gino. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we've been having a lot of good discussion on mentorship, the value of mentorship, the benefits, and how people can use mentorship for their career and self-improvement, and how a good coach or mentor could help you bypass a lot of the trial and error and hopefully get with the best practices that this mentor has achieved through their life and their experiences. Can you please let us know what are some of the pitfalls and challenges that you've been experiencing as a mentor or a mentee?
One of the challenges is time. People need to get together on a regular basis. If you miss an appointment, it's hard to keep the momentum going. So the mentee and the mentor have to be on the same page as far as time. And if it's a formal program, which is what we're talking about, it needs to be something scheduled. It needs to happen on a regular interval for a set amount of time. It can go longer, but it has to be minimum. So I think the scheduling is a big issue. The other one is the mentee doesn't express his or her expectations. And then the mentor doesn't know what they're expecting. So there's a miscommunication there on expectations. They're harder to draw out if they're not openly discussed. So that should be one of the first sessions is, hey, what do you expect from this program? What are you hoping to gain out of it? What are your goals? What do you hope to improve on? So that clarity has to come out very early in the relationship.
Nice. That's great. And I love what you talked about the time, because that happened actually last year when I was mentoring a few people. One of them was very quick in scheduling the next meeting and finding a time on my calendar for the next week's kind of discussion. And the other one was like, okay, I'll get back to you when I finish this task, or if I go through this. And this is easy in a formal mentorship. A lot of times we seek mentorship from people that they don't even realize that there are mentors, and they're like, you want to create that kind of relation. One of the challenges that we always look into is the over involvement of a person that maybe turns to some kind of a passion, or the under involvement of either side because they don't see the value in it, or they don't have the same goal.
As we know, in life, extremes are not good. So extreme involvement, not good. Not enough involvement, not good. And this is where the mentor plays the key role, because he has to give just enough involvement by challenging the mentee on a certain task that has a due date. It doesn't have to be next week or next month, but things are set and you have to meet those goals. And if they're not, then you come back. So that's one of the things that makes these relationships fail, is when the mentee cuts off the connection. The connection has to be there all the time. You don't have to meet every week, but at least you check in, you call, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Are you okay? How you doing with the goal? Do we need to clarify the goal? So it goes back to expectations. And I think that too much involvement is not a good thing. And then too little interest from the mentee is not a good thing either. They say that moderation in everything, including moderation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was a great point, and that's what we call balancing it, right? So you have to have a good balance of how much involvement and engagement you have in everything. Because if you go too fast and then you burn out, or you go too slow and you get disappointed, that's the kind of emotional state that we don't want to be in. We want to be content, satisfied by seeing progress on incremental and continuous basis. So what do you think about the one size fit all approach that people think just because a mentor is good with a certain type of people or in a certain area, they're going to be great at everything?
Mentorship is like trying on a shirt or a suit. You can't, it's not one size fit all because we're different. The mentor's different, the mentee's different, humans are different. We have a lot of intrinsic things in common, but we are different. Men are different than women. Women are different than men. It's just a fact of life. So one size definitely does not fit all. And it's okay to recognize that and let it go. Let the mentee go, or the mentee lets the mentor go. I had a case of a program that I joined or talked about it one time, is the MBA program at University of Miami, which I graduated there from that. And they said, hey, we're looking for mentors, and they chose me. And I had a very good relationship with a young man. It lasted a good while, but he went on to his thing. It's funny because we had so much in common. He was a mechanical engineer. I'm an electrical engineer. He's a dance instructor, and I was a yoga instructor. So we really connected. And the young man just went off to his dance career. Imagine, he got his mechanical engineering and an MBA and never really used those degrees because he was
Right.
so passionate about dancing.
I had
Good.
students like
So,
that.
yeah, so he went his way and he did his thing. We
Mhm,
still stay in touch.
mhm,
He recently
mhm,
got a hold of me because he applied to another master's program in the engineering field, and I helped him with that, and that was nice. But I remember one time that I went there with excitement on the day that we get introduced to our mentor. I'm sorry, the mentees get introduced to the mentors. And it's a little mix and mingle. And here you are, this is that. And I got this one lady, she was stunningly beautiful, smart as a whip. And I watched her work the room because she had a certain goal. She had a certain type of mentor that she wanted in an industry that she was studying for and wanted to get her advancement in her degree. And I wasn't that fit. And to me, it was shocking because it was the first time that ever happened to me. But then in retrospect, I thought to myself, you know, if we weren't a good fit and she realized it early on, it was much better than to try something that we were both going to get frustrated. So she went on, she found a mentor, and that's okay. So I can't mentor everybody. I mentor the people that seek it. Remember, I spoke about the teacher appears when the student is ready. When people are ready to be mentored, they'll gravitate towards a mentor.
exactly.
Again, not one size fits all. The industry is important. Sometimes the gender of the person is important. Maybe a woman will take coaching better from another woman. I have a fellow Toastmaster that she's an incredible woman. This lady climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. She does all these missions to South Africa. She goes on a hang glider. She's a pilot. I mean, she's an adventure coach. And you cannot tell an adventure coach that you are afraid of heights because she'll challenge you. So she takes them out here to Glades Airport, about 80 miles from Miami. And they have a place where you can go and hang glide. And she challenges mostly women to do this out of the box activity that liberates them. She tells the story of a lady that was terrified of doing this, but they went. She picked her up at a Starbucks 6 in the morning. They drove the 2 hours. They get there, and the lady's terrified, and she goes, I don't think I can do this. Well, listen, I already paid for it, and I'm going for it. And the lady goes, oh, what the heck? And she did it. And then later, when she came down from her flight, she goes, oh my God, that was so transformative. I wish that I had videotaped and my family could see it. And the coach says, don't worry about it. I got you. I videotaped the whole thing. And that lady, in that one jump that she did, transformed what it usually takes this coach 6 months to do with someone else. So sometimes woman on woman is a good thing, especially when the woman looks up to the woman. It's a role model. And man on man, the same thing. If the man sees the other man not as a challenge, but as somebody that is their role model for what they aspire to be, those are sometimes better fits. I'm not saying that men and women can't mix, but it's an observation that I have that sometimes women will gravitate towards role model power women types.
Exactly. And as you mentioned, I mean, it depends on their goals, right? As you mentioned, it depends on clarifying the goal, and it's just no one size fits all kind of thing. Some, like you said, somebody wants to find a role model. They look into those criteria or parameters that looks good to them to say, this is what I want. Some other people are looking for a different perspective, and they're like, you know what? I've always thought this way, and now I want to see a different perspective. Maybe somebody can show me a different way, and I seek maybe a different kind of vision or perspective.
Yeah, the way I approach it is that there's basically 5 things in your life: where you live, where you play, that's all your recreational activities, where you pray, you go to mass, you go to church, you go to whatever denomination, where you work, and the last one is where you go to school, if you are still doing schooling. So in those 5 areas, you can find a mentor in each, and there's a subcategory as well, because it depends on what's going on in your life, right? Where you live, you are going to buy a house. So you need to talk to someone that has bought a house. You're going to purchase an insurance policy. Talk to someone that's already purchased one. Get some tips, get some recommendations. Maybe you want to buy a car. Maybe my students ask me all the time, Professor, should I get my master's degree? So that's from the student perspective. They always ask me that question. My answer is always, no matter where they are in the States, I say, listen, go work in corporate America first for about 5 years. See if you like the field that you've chosen. You don't even know a lot about the industry that you're getting an undergraduate in. Now you're going to get a master's and you still haven't tasted the field. So I always tell them, delay that. Maybe if you work for a huge employer, they might even have tuition reimbursement. So you can go back to school and get your master's. So you see how in school and work, we talked a lot about the professional and the formal mentorship program. And then where you live, where you pray, you know, at church, there's different things. I remember I had my younger brother was killed about 30 years ago. And I needed some spiritual healing and help. And I joined a group called the Men's Emmaus at my Catholic church. And we had a little retreat and it was life-changing for me. And then there was the men's group, and there was a group of men, all with a lot of things in common. We've been through trials and tribulations. We attended the same church. We have the same faith. And they helped me quite a bit in my spiritual life to get over the death of my brother. So those are the 5 areas where you live, work, play, pray, or go to school. You can find somebody to guide you in the area that you need.
That was great advice. Thank you, Gino. I appreciate it. And last question, I promise. So how do you measure success of your program and identify that if you're going the wrong direction or you're hitting some of those challenges that needs to be cut off or change direction or whatever? How would you measure the success of your mentorship relation and program?
Yeah, remember what I said, that corporate America loves metrics. They love results. First metrics are, hey, when are you going to meet? How often are you going to meet? How long are you going to meet? What are the goals? So all that has to be stated up front. If you have all that stated, it's very easy to now compare. So you have this goal, this 5-point plan, and you hit 4 of the 5 points. Hey, that's pretty good. That's an 80%. I'll take that. But sometimes you don't hit. So if you give specific advice to a mentee and they don't do it, I think that's a bit of a fail. If they do it another way, I'm okay with that. They found a way. Sometimes in life, you don't know everything. You have to find it out yourself, figure it out. People used to come to me like, oh, Gino, what do we do? What do we do? And say, wait a minute, calm down. Let's relax. Let's figure out a solution between the two of us. So you don't have to get all flustered. Sometimes you do have to figure out things on your own, but it's nice to bounce it off a mentor. So I think the success or the metrics, it's hard to say one word success and what success means, but I think if you set a goal and you achieve the goal, I have a young lady in Toastmasters that she sets a goal every 2 years to do something. So her last goal was to become a yoga instructor, and it took her 2 years and she did it. Her next 2-year goal is to become a distinguished Toastmaster. So those are very measurable. If she achieves yoga instructor, achieves
Nice.
distinguished Toastmaster, you know you made it. If you didn't, it's not a success.
That's great. Yes, have goals in mind, and then as you achieve them, you tick mark the ones that you completed, and you know that you're on the right path. Great. Sounds excellent. Hopefully for next time, we'll continue this discussion and learn more from you. Thank you, Gino.
Awesome.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dr. Amati. Pleasure to be on.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.